Hey, it's not shorts weather, so why is there this strange feeling in the air like spring has already come and gone? I'm talking about real estate, of course, and not the seasons. After what felt like a market on the precipice of turning red hot again, especially heading into what is the busiest time of year, the temperature has seemed to cool off a little. Don't get me wrong, there is still a lot of activity. Sales are definitely happening, open houses are quite busy, but the hype train, well, it may have left the station. Hello everyone and welcome to the April 2024 edition of our Greater Vancouver Market Update, the only place to get the real goods. You know what I'm talking about. Unbiased, unspun analysis of the Greater Vancouver housing market. If you find this content valuable, mildly entertaining, or if you just want to be nice, please give us a like, drop us a comment down below, and make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. All right, let's jump right into the stats portion of our update by taking a look at the sales numbers from last month, which came in at 2,415 total transactions. This is a fairly modest 16.7% increase from the previous month. And although sales volume is on the rise, we typically see much higher numbers in March. Last month's sales were 31.2% below the 10-year average for the month, so not exactly blockbuster figures. Listings, on the other hand, have also begun to climb, breaking into the five-figure range with a total of 10,552 properties listed for sale last month. But again, spring is the busiest time of year in the market, and this rise in inventory was a modest 9.5% from the previous month. And from a historical perspective, the amount of new listings that came on the market were 9.5% below the 10-year average for March. But with the rise in sales continuing to outpace the rise in inventory, our months of inventory inched down from 4.7 MOI to 4.4 MOI. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this is a very modest tightening of the market. If you're a regular viewer of these updates, you will recall that over the last couple of months, I felt that we would see a sharp drop in months of inventory, meaning that sales would vastly outpace listings. But the drop we've seen over the last month is a lot smaller than I had personally anticipated. But despite our months of inventory sitting above 4 MOI, prices continue to rise pretty aggressively. The benchmark price of a typical home in the region is now up to $1.196 million, which represents a 1.8% increase over the previous month. If you recall, last month's prices rose 1.9%. So in just 2 months, that's a 3.7% increase. 4 to 6 months of inventory is generally considered a balanced market, and we don't usually see such aggressive increases at these types of absorption rates. So market dynamics are certainly a little bit strange right now. You can see just how sharply prices have turned when you look at the numbers on a price graph. It's not like we haven't seen swings like this before, but we generally see this happening when months of inventory is below 3. And we're quite a ways away from that. So what's the reason for this? What's the actual sentiment in the market? For that, stay tuned and catch our editorial segment of the update called Boots on the Ground in the next few days on our various social feeds. And if you're watching this on YouTube, that portion of the update starts now.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
As I mentioned near the top of the stats portion of the update, it feels like the market is somewhat underperforming, but it's not like it's dead. Sales are happening, prices are rising sharply. Based on months of inventory, we are inching closer and closer to seller's market territory. But I would say that urgency is starting to wane compared to where it was a month ago, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. In last month's Boots on the Ground, I talked about how we're seeing more subject to sale transactions happening. Again, not a bad thing. It's great for buyers to be able to make an offer on their next home before selling their current property and not take a high stakes gamble on putting down a deposit before they know what price they will get for their current home or if it will even sell at all. And this trend has continued over the last month. One agent I spoke to last week said she converted 4 subject to sale transactions over the last 30 days, so that's 8 deals. In my opinion, that's a pretty healthy, balanced market. But in general, A lot of my colleagues that I talk to say they have not had a good March, especially with product in the suburbs. One prominent agent in the Tri-Cities told me recently that some of his sellers have elected to take their homes off the market and try again in the fall, as they think that market conditions will favor them more if we see a rate cut in the next few months. Another high volume agent in Vancouver recently told me that his deal count at this point in the year is severely down from years past. So it's not just the suburbs. The other market that is really struggling right now is the downtown Vancouver market. There's tons of inventory, lots of options, and the sales that do happen are at some pretty eye-popping price per square foot figures. So for anyone trying to get into a downtown condo that has aspirations of timing the market, I would say that this is a pretty advantageous time to pull the trigger, especially when you consider that overall prices in Greater Vancouver have risen by 3.7% in the last 2 months. But it's also not as simple as just painting the current market as being lackluster, because it's not. If you visited any open houses over the last 6 weeks, you know that they are very busy. We are sitting on the cusp of a seller's market after all. Personally, we had just listed 2 brand new half duplexes just off of Main Street, and we had 70 groups come through in the span of 5 days and received 3 offers just a few days later. And what we're finding is that what is especially busy are those entry-level properties at each property type and at each price break. And so what I'm talking about is entry-level 1 bedrooms, entry-level 2 bedrooms, then entry-level townhouses, and of course, the lowest price range for detached. It's the product in the middle that seems to be sitting. So it gives off the feeling that things are very much hit and miss, but really it's just people trying to break into that next price bracket or that next property type. And there seems to be this growing narrative that buyers have pulled back because they're waiting for interest rates to drop. And with the economy now showing tangible signs of slowing, even I think that that's starting to look like a scenario of sooner rather than later. Just 1 month ago, I wasn't convinced that we would see a rate reduction until closer to the end of the year. I'm currently starting to soften on that stance. But this was the plan all along. This is why we just experienced the fastest interest rate increase in Canadian history. Remember, in an interview with the CBC 1 year ago, Governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem, pulled no punches, looked the camera straight in the eye, and clearly said that he wanted to see the job market soften and unemployment go up. But now with news of mass layoffs making headlines on a weekly basis, I think Tiff and his governing council at the Bank of Canada may be at the point where they need to start their final descent to that soft landing that we've been hearing about for so long. The trick now will be actually pulling it off. All right, that's it for me for this month. Please like, share, comment, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you right back here in about a month's time. Take care, everyone.